Hey, everybody. Happy Friday, and thank you for joining me today on today's discussion. So I love a title with a good implied cuss word, work-life balance, WTF. Yeah, so here's the thing, and maybe this is an unpopular opinion, and I might get a lot of, flack for it, but I don't think that work-life balance is as it's talked about and discussed. I don't know that I don't believe it's an achievable and even an aspirational thing. But hear me out, okay? So the way work-life balance is often discussed is that there has to be this work time, home time. They don't intermingle. We do only work at work. We do only non-work at home. And they're supposed to get equal treatment and not one more than the other. And I think that this sets us up for failure. This idea that somehow we are going to balance our time spent between work and life, and everybody's going to get, fair treatment, and it's all going to be pretty. Because we're striving for something in a system that's not set up to accommodate it for us, right? So as mothers and entrepreneurs, right? Mompreneurs. So we have essentially two full-time jobs. And we still have the same 24 hours in a day, right? So we have to, or not have to, we choose to, I guess, raise our small humans, look after our family, manage the household, and then we look after our business, grow our business, manage our business. And when the two things come together, we run out of time when we try to give them both equal time and keep them separate. And it can leave a lot of us feeling like we are less than or not measuring up, or we're just simply not good enough. And then we're hard on ourselves, and we just perpetuate this idea that we're failing in some way. So work-life balance as it's presented can lead to, a quest for perfectionism, schedule micromanagement, all of these things. But life isn't quite that simple, right? I mean, life is unexpected. It is chaotic at times. I mean, we can't control all the inputs in our days and the requirements and demands on our time. And so I advocate for something a little bit different than work-life balance. I advocate for flow. So what I mean by that is this ability to flow from one focus to another as required and as we want to, without judgment. Okay. Here's the thing is we all have a different idea of what a good life is, right? We don't all want the same things. We don't all desire to be millionaires, nor do we all desire to live in mansions, nor do we all desire to have, 5 kids, 3 dogs, or in my case, 2 kids, 2 dogs, 10 chickens, and, stuff. So if we don't all desire the same life, then we can't all desire the same life structure. And when we accept the fact that maybe we don't want the recommended life structure, that maybe we are happier with a different layout, then we give ourselves permission to enjoy life and flow with it versus trying to force our family and business situation into a mold that it doesn't want to fit in. So what we want to do is we want to start by taking a look at ourselves, our lives, our work, and saying, okay, what do I value? Where do I want to be? How do I want to spend my time? I know for me, I have changed that answer over time. I mean, at first I wanted to be, recognized as a top CEO running my own company, making lots of money, doing all these things. And I would do it at the expense of everything. And then over time, as I really paid attention to myself and stopped listening to what other people defined as success, I realized that I wanted to form relationships and provide service and help others help themselves and spend time with my kids and not have to be places at a certain time all the time. I wanted more flow in my life. And when I made that decision and started to restructure things a little bit, there was resistance, not necessarily, there was resistance from within me, of course, because I was changing something and my ego was like, unsafe, unsafe, unsafe. But there was also resistance outside of me because I was not doing what was expected. And whether it was people expected things of me or I had created an expectation, I was making a change. And that left people feeling put out or just off, right? Because I wasn't striving in the same way they had been used to seeing me strive. That didn't mean I wasn't working hard or that I wasn't working towards goals. It just meant my approach had changed. But for me, I was able to find better flow, right? I don't like rushing in the morning, right? So I don't want to be somewhere by 9 a.m. Especially during the summer when my kids don't have to be at school by a certain time. I have no desire to get up and rush. I'm good at getting up and rushing, and I can create a system and a routine that allows me to get up and rush. But I prefer to not feel rushed. I want to enjoy my coffee. I want to stop and listen when my kids speak to me. I don't want to be rushed. So that means I don't want to arrive anywhere by 9 a.m. It also means that I enjoy working in different workspaces. I don't necessarily want to be in an office, which is one thing a lot of people are realizing now, right? Is that they don't want to be in an office all the time. They want to work from home, or they want to work from a cafe, or they want to work from wherever, because it feels better, right? It doesn't mean they're not productive. It doesn't mean they're not getting the work done. It just means they're listening to what works for them. So if we think of our lives in terms of seasons, right? And I know you've heard a lot about this before, but there are going to be seasons in our life when work demands more, and there's going to be seasons in our life when family demands more, right? When your kids are newborns or, toddlers, they demand a lot of time and attention. As they get older and they become less reliant on us and more independent and more and their desire to express that independence grows, they require less of our immediate hands-on attention. And we are in a season where work can take a lot more of the focus. But that doesn't mean that during that newborn or a toddler stage, our work won't need focus, right? So we need to be able to flow into that instead of saying, well, I need to focus on this from 6:30 in the morning until 8:30, and then this from 9 to 5, and then this from 5:30 until 8:30, and then this from 8:30 until 10. If we allow flow to happen, then, and we don't resist, we don't push against it and say, why isn't this fitting into what I was told was balance, then we don't feel as bad about it, right? If we don't resist it, it doesn't feel bad. We can say, okay, you know what? This happened. I'm going to deal with it, and then I will get back to this, and the world will not end, and the sky will not fall. And that flow allows us to create something very different than balance. It allows us to create harmony in our life, right? So maybe you look at them and you think they're the same, right? Work-life balance, harmony, it's both the same. But for me, creating a harmonious life is much different than creating creating work-life balance. Because balance tells me that there's opposing forces and they're pushing against each other and they're competing. Harmony tells me that there's things working together, right? Creating the symphony that is my life. And so if I try to create a harmonious life, allowing things to flow, right? Allowing my focus to flow, my attention to flow, my desires and my needs and my wants to flow, then I'm able to create harmony. And it might not be balance, right? I might, like, it's the summertime. I can tell you that time with my kids is taking more precedence than time working on the things. It doesn't mean I am not getting the things done. It just means when my kids come to my door, if I'm not in the middle of an interview or something, that I'm going to stop and acknowledge them and talk to them. They're going back to school soon. And so my daytime will flow more towards the focus on work, unless maybe they have a cold and they need to come home. Like, this idea of flow is so beautiful, and the idea of creating harmony in your life versus balance is so beautiful because it accounts for all of your personal different inputs, right? It's not expecting everybody's life to be the same. It's expecting it all to be different, and you're creating your own symphony. You are creating your own performance. So that's why I say work-life balance, WTF, because it's expecting these two forces to be opposing, and it creates an immediate feeling of, competition or hostility or a fight, a struggle, right? We've got to find balance. There's this struggle. Well, what if we just found harmony? What if they both got to coexist? And it's not that we had to be done work by 5 and done with the kids by 8:30 at night when we want them in bed, but it's that if our kids need us at 4 to look at something or to play with them, we can do that. No, and then we just say, okay, now that we're done, mommy's going to finish and focus on this. And we're not going to shame or guilt ourselves for when the work is being done or when we're playing with our kids. We're just going to let it flow. Because it gets easier if you don't push against what is, right? I mean, it doesn't matter how much we resist not being able to send our kids to daycare because they're sick, or not being able to do something else because we have a deadline that we have to meet. If we resist them, all we're doing is creating negative emotion, and we're creating, anxiety and apprehension in our bodies. But if we allow it to flow and accept what is, knowing that there will be harmony and it will all work together, then we get to relax through it and enjoy the process. So I would love to hear your thoughts on, work-life balance. Do you strive for it? Have you achieved it? Do you believe in it? Do you like the idea of harmony and flow? So drop some comments, hit me up in my DMs. And as always, remember, the woman you see when you look in the mirror is exactly what a successful entrepreneur looks like. Take care. Bye.